Should I start? Okay. So in the last class we finished applied statistics. Okay. And in today's class we are going to start with the new topic, random process, which is very interesting, and at the same time this will also require a good hold on all the previous concepts which we have discussed so far. Okay. When we talk about process, see, till now we were talking about random variable. Now from variable we are shifting to a process. When we talk about process, it means something is happening. Process means something is happening. And when it is a random process, it means something is happening randomly. So when something is happening randomly, it will happen in time or space, right? But that for mathematics, that does not matter whether it is space or time. Both for mathematics, space, time are same thing. But for physicists, space, time have some kind of value, some kind of understanding. But for mathematicians, space, time both are treated in the same way, right? The only difference is that in the time you cannot go into the negative, and in space you can also go in the negative, but that depends upon where you are putting your reference, right? Ultimately, if you see, mathematically there is not much difference. So in this entire lecture, although I have given the name random process, so when we talk about process, usually we talk in the terms of time. And when we talk about space, something happening in the space, we use the word random field. So random field, random process, the mathematics of both is same. Okay. So in this lecture, sometimes I will say random field, sometimes I will say random process. Sometimes I will use the symbol T, which represents time. But using the T, I will sometimes also refer that as space. So don't get confused. Don't get confused. Space and time both are same in this lecture. Okay. So when we talk about some random variable, okay, so suppose we went there in the field, we did some kind of test, SPT test or any test or any soil test. So how do you do the test? You make a borehole and you start digging, taking the samples, doing the test. So with the depth, you are getting some samples. Each sample will give some random value, right? And that's how you generate the random variable. This can be one method, that you go deep. Another method may be you go to 15 centimeter depth, but you go laterally. Okay. And then at each 15 centimeter you collect the soil sample. That will form another random variable. Another thing can be going like this, you go like this, but 15 centimeter, collect the sample. Another thing can be that here at this point you have gone to 30 meter depth, you collected 400 samples, and then you go 10 meters ahead, 30 meter deep, and collect 400 samples. So at each location you are getting 400 samples, these are random, then 400 samples, these are random, right? But variable is same. What is that variable? Suppose SPT value, or say anything. As simple thing is SPT blow count, standard penetration test blow count. So if you put this data in the format of a chart, how you will see that this is the location, you got some value here, some value here, some value here at the same depth. Then in the space, like you are going like this, literally, these are, then again going randomly like this. So this is a kind of array, or you can say matrix, or you can say the random field. The variable is same, but now the collection of variable at what time and at what depth or at what coordinate is also coming into the picture. So your random variable was what? X, right? Random variable is same X. But now what we are doing, we are saying X at coordinate, suppose this coordinate is T1. So at X T1, so X T1 in itself is if X is random process, then X T1 is so what?
That is also random.
Random. It is random variable. Here X is random process, but X T1 is random variable. Till now we studied random variable. So X T1 is a random variable. If something is random variable, then it will have a PDF or PMF. It will have a distribution. Right? Okay. Then this is T2. This is another random variable coming from the same random process, and this will also have a distribution. So suppose if you take this random variable, you calculate mean. Okay, so mu T1, here you calculate mean mu T2, right? Similarly, you can calculate standard deviation or coefficient of variation, delta T1, delta T2, right? So you can visualize now that instead of looking at one random variable, we are looking at multiple random variables, which are, and because these random variables are coming from the same random process. Okay, means the genesis, the father of all these random variables is same. If the father is same, then some qualities will be same. Of course, I know the two sons of the same father will have different properties, but some similarity will be there. At least on the facial expression may be there similarity. Okay. So if there is some kind of similarity between them, it means they are having some kind of correlation. They will have a correlation between them. So we can write correlation, autocorrelation function between them. And because there are multiple variables, T1, T2, T3, T4, like this. So suppose if you are studying correlation between T1 and T3 and T1 and T5, they will be same or different? No. Suppose a father has 10 sons. Okay. So if you consider the similarity between two sons, any two sons, so the extent of similarity will not be same. It will change, right? It will change. And suppose if there are sons who are twins, then similarity is expected to be more. And someone, suppose there is a difference of 10 years of age, then similarity is expected to be less. Same thing happens with the random process. That correlation between two nearby variables will be high compared to two faraway variables. It means correlation depends upon the distance between two random variables. How do you measure the distance between two random variables? delta t, ti minus tj. A process is happening at x equal to ti, at t equal to ti. Another process is happening at t equal to tj. So the distance between two random variables is ti minus tj. If this distance is closer, the two variables will be very similar. If this distance is long, the dissimilarity will be very high. If something is very similar, then their correlation coefficient is 1 or minus 1, something very close. If they are very, very far away, then correlation coefficient is 0 or tending to 0. Correct? This is only random process. The chapter is over. Now whatever I will discuss, that will be just same demonstration. Now you calculated mean for this one, then you calculated mean for this one. Suppose I say this mean is equal to this mean, equal to all these means are same. Okay, then we say that the process is stationary. The process is stationary, weakly stationary. Okay, and suppose the means are not same, means are changing with location, then the process is known as non-stationary. The process is known as non-stationary. Then suppose you want to characterize this entire mountain. Okay, but it is not possible. What you will do? You will think, is there any magic that I dig one borehole at one location, collect all the samples, do the analysis, and based on that random variable only, I can understand the entire mountain. Is it possible? Practically it is not possible. But mathematicians, they can play with the assumptions, they can do something that you can understand the entire thing. Okay, so suppose in practical life, when you cannot collect sample at all t's, but you have samples only at x t1, right? So there is something known as ergodicity, ergodic process. If the process is ergodic, then just by looking at x t1, the same borehole, you can tell everything about all other possible boreholes that you can think of. That kind of process is known as ergodic process. Okay. So this is the only thing about random process that we will discuss in this entire lecture. Till now we discussed only one random variable at a time. Now we will talk about several random variables collectively known as a random process in one go. The process can be random in space, spatial variability, or in time, temporal variability. Example of a spatial variability I gave, if you do the geotechnical testing on this entire mountain, that is spatial variability, one example. Any example of temporal variability?
Testing of concrete cubes each day.
At each day, but that will not be that drastically random. We know that concrete strength increases with time, right? So it will follow a trend. You cannot consider that absolute random.
Rainfall.
Eh? Rainfall over, but yeah, that can be a thing. More examples.
Sir, collection of flood data at particular point.
Something similar, same example, more example.
Velocity measurement at different time.
Of what? Of what? You are going very close, but of what? Think, I believe here 4 PhD students and 2 master students are sitting here. I think this answer should come. Earthquake time history. Have you seen that? It is a random process in time. But suppose if you collect the earthquake data at different locations, that will also vary, right? So there is a temporal variability and spatial variability. Now, joint probability distributions, conditional and marginal distributions. Here, when I explained that this random variable is somehow correlated with this random variable, it means their probability may be connected with each other. When the probabilities of 2 variables are connected, we have to look at their joint distribution. That we will discuss in this lecture. And then there is something known as conditional and marginal distribution. Conditional when something is given and you are calculating distribution of another variable, right? That is conditional. Marginal, when there is no condition, you simply look at independently, just like there is only one variable, no other variable, then that is marginal. Bivariate normal distribution. So when suppose there are 2 variables x and y, both are jointly related and getting distributed, and suppose both of them are normally distributed, then their joint distribution is known as bivariate normal distribution. Concept of correlation between random variables. Why? Because this random variable and this random variable are correlated, so we have to also see the concept of correlation. Stationary and non-stationary process, we will discuss more. I told already. Weakly stationary and strictly stationary process. So suppose this process and this process, for stationary the condition is their mean is equal, but it will be strictly stationary if their individual marginal probability distributions are exactly same. Then they are strictly stationary. It means all the random variables are following the same distribution also. It is stationary. Covariance function. Again, this is covariance means there are 2 things. Two things. Co-education. Okay. Similarly like covariance. When the 2 things are there and you are collectively looking at covariance, then that we will study, because in random process more than one random variable is involved. Example of random field of hydraulic conductivity. Then we will solve one example where we will study that in particular soil strata the hydraulic conductivity is random and it is random at each point. So it is a random field. When it is random at each point, then how to solve that kind of problem we will study here. Ergodicity, I already told. Autocorrelation. Auto means with self. With self. When there is a one single random process and we want to calculate its correlation with itself, within itself, then it is autocorrelation. That we will also study. Then we will study variogram, semi-variogram and example problem. So variogram and semi-variogram, these are very standard mathematical things and simple formulas which have been developed for practicing engineers to understand the random process, its randomness. So we start now. Here we will talk about the random process in space and or time. I have already told, so don't get confused with the space and time. Okay. Consider an example of the tip resistance measured over depth by a cone penetrometer. Cone penetrometer is an equipment which gives the tip resistance. So it's like a cone, it goes in the soil and soil offers some resistance so that it does not penetrate. So this, by using this test, cone penetrometer test, you can measure that resistance, and that resistance is correlated with several properties of the soil in field. Okay. So on x-axis is the depth, and this is the value of QC in MPa. QC is the tip resistance of the cone penetrometer test. So you can see it is not following any trend. It is a very random thing in the field. Okay. So by understanding random process, we study these kind of problems where things are completely random, haphazard, and you don't know anything about it. It does not follow any trend. It does not have single value. It is changing from place to place. How to deal with such kind of problems comes under the study of random process or random field. This is a very interesting area of research also. This figure that just gives a reasonable idea about the soil properties at the location at which the tests were conducted. One single figure. However, what can be said about the soil properties 10-50 meters away from this location? So suppose here I did this test, it is coming like that. So if I go 50 meter like this, what you can tell about that location? It is a very important question, right? You are constructing a dam which is spread across kilometer range, or a bridge where piers are resting on pile foundation or well foundation which are spread over kilometer range. How you can do your design based on the testing, few tests at one location, which is giving this kind of result? Don't you think this is worth questioning? The problem is we cannot conduct so many tests. Why? Because money is involved. Not much money is given to the contractor for doing the test. In our country, the geotechnical investigation is considered to be very useless thing. In our country, only structural engineering is considered to be the most decorated post. All other things are considered to be useless. But the fact is, geotechnical engineering, if you go in much deep, is much more complicated compared to structural engineering. and you really need a lot of courage to choose a career in geotechnical engineering. It's not that people think, okay, this is geotechnical engineering, always a second choice. Of course, I am also in the structural engineering. But the good thing that happened with me that I worked in both the fields and equally, and that's why I know. I worked on the field, I did investigation with these hands for the rocks in the dam sites. I know how much effort is required, how the data is interpreted. And the structural engineers, they use in their office that data to design using the codes which has already been built by someone. Okay, so it is very important to look at these aspects. The variability at one location can be used to present the variability at other locations as well. At least we can tell one thing, that if there is a variability at this location, and if I go 50 meters away from here, there will also be some type, this kind of variability. At least this you can say. This information is good enough to approximate the entire random field. Now, spatial variability. If we consider a location in space where some random process is occurring, which is governed by certain PDF, then a different location in space or time may be governed by a completely different PDF. We know that, right? That's what I told now. The PDF may be completely different. Okay. The PDFs could evolve with space and time. Evolve means like human evolution. Similarly, so if I am moving in space, suppose here I am standing here, I get one PDF. Then I went here, I get another PDF, and then I compare both. So I will see there is a difference. Again there is a difference. Again there is a difference. So with space, the PDF is evolving, right, at each location. Same thing can happen in time. One such example in time domain is earthquake ground motion, right? One such example is earthquake ground motion. You know how the earthquake ground motion looks like, right? It starts, then it stays, then goes away, right? So all of you know na how earthquake time tree looks like. You have seen? You never saw? Okay, let me give you one example. So this is time. This vertical thing is ground acceleration in meter per second square. Okay. Then earthquake process, something looks like this, which is not very good diagram, but yeah. These kind of diagrams you might have seen, right? So this is one random process in time. Right? Now, what happens that we will never come to know that at Mandi, at this location where I am standing, just suppose I am the seismograph which is processing the data. So some earthquake is coming, then I am noting it down. But suppose no earthquake is coming and the question is raised, what earthquake will come? Because you have to design. So you will not wait for the earthquake to come, then you will record and then you will design. No. You have to simulate a random process. There are methods to simulate. What they simulate? That here, where this seismograph is standing, it is processing some ground motion data. Okay. That random simulation gives you that this can be one possible earthquake. There can be another possible earthquake which can follow this kind of thing, right? So basically, simulation for earthquake ground motion gives you multiple possibilities of temporal variation at the same location, right? So at this time, the ground acceleration is something, and the simulation told, but this has certain probability only. It means if you generate another sample of earthquake ground motion and you look at the same time, you are getting this ground acceleration, right? So basically what is happening, if you consider the ground acceleration, this is PDF. X-axis is ground acceleration, x double dot at time t1, at time t1. At time t1, the ground acceleration can be anything and each value will have certain probability. Did you get my point? That's how stochastic ground motion analysis is done. That field is known as random vibration. Random vibration. So in random vibration, this is the input. Not only this is random, but we have to give entire process. Only then it will be truly random. Earthquake is random in its own time, but at each time the acceleration itself is random, which can be anything following a particular distribution. It needs a lot of visualization. That's why people don't like it, but it is very interesting if you like visualization. Just a moment. Just. This example is clear? Why earthquake example is very important? Because in earthquake, space and time both are involved at the same time. Unlike regular geotechnical investigation, where mostly space is involved. But here you see everything in time and space. And this is why earthquake problems are very complex to solve. Then spatial dependence. Spatial dependence means how the same thing. When we discuss these processes, right? And there was a gap between them. So what is their dependence? How they are correlated with each other? Some kind of dependence is always present in natural process because they are coming from the same source. Some kind of dependence will be there. We cannot physically explain all the dependence, but statistically we can study. This interdependence is characterized using the joint distributions. This interdependence between two random variables, xt1 and xt2, is characterized by their joint distribution. Joint distribution of what? xt1 and xt2. So before that, let me explain a bit mathematically. Consider two positions. Okay, so position 1, position 2, and I am going deep. The property is changing. Consider two positions. Now, as I told, position I will use just like time only, or space, both are same. So one position is t star, another position is t prime, let's say. Okay, so the distance between them is defined as tau equal to t prime minus t star. Okay, now process is x t prime and x t star. So this random variable and this random variable, they will have some interdependence between them, right? If tau is very small, then dependence is very high. If tau tends to infinity, then dependence is zero, right? Okay, let there is a pair of random variables, then their joint randomness is represented by the joint distribution functions like this. So how we represent? Capital F x comma y x y. Here, look at, I will explain that figure. You guys very fond of figure, but look here. F x y x comma y. How will you write this thing? Use your knowledge of single variable and tell me. In terms of probability. That is only when they are statistically, but it is not always necessary. Especially these cases are not statistically independent because they are coming from the same random process. Okay. What was this? Probability that x is correct? Am I right? Similarly,
both and x and y. X is less than x and y is less than y.
right? Joint probability that x is less than or equal to small x and y is less than or equal to small y. This gives the joint probability, right? Now, suppose x1, x2, x3, blah blah blah, xn, nth order joint distribution, and here x1, x2, xn. Then how will you write? How will you write? Very simple. Same thing, probability that capital X1 is less than equal to X1, capital X2 less than equal to X2, capital X3 less than equal to X3, capital Xn less than equal to Xn, all at the same time. That is the basic definition of joint distribution, whether nth order, fourth order or second order. Now, some questions. What is this f xy minus infinity minus infinity? Zero. Both minus infinity minus infinity. Zero, right? F x comma y, infinity infinity, one, right? Okay. F x y minus infinity and y. Zero. Joint, you have to think now jointly. You have to think jointly. Okay? Now, let me see who can answer this one. Right? Single distribution of y. It means you got independent of x. All x are included here. Only y is there. So this is nothing but univariate distribution only. Okay? So idea is clear now. Similarly, so suppose x and y are discrete variable. Till now we considered only continuous. Now let they are discrete variable. So for discrete variable we will write PMF, probability mass function, joint probability mass function. So P x comma y xi yj. This is what? Just a moment. Can you tell him I am in the class? Tell him I am in the class. Yes? हाँ, probability that x equal to xi comma okay, just okay, no problem. Probability of x equal to xi and y equal to yj. This is for discrete. Okay. Now suppose now this is PMF. If we want to write the cumulative distribution function, how will you write? So capital F x comma y equal to, now okay, let's go and tell him. Summation of this probability यही होगा ना, यहाँ क्या होगा, गलत लिखा है ना मैंने, इसको ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं, फॉर ऑल xi's which are less than this value x, we have to sum on all of them, and for all yj's which are less than this, we have to sum on all of them. That will give the cumulative probability, right? It is the same thing that we wrote for the. Now suppose if you want to write the joint PDF f x comma y xy dx dy, what this will give? What does this give? लिख लिया? Have you written? What does this give? Fx dx, what does this give? You guys forgot? You can look back into your notes. This is area. This is area, right? So what it will give? It will give some probability. Probability of what? Probability that capital X is between x to x plus dx and right? That's what I taught when we were discussing single thing. In joint distribution, this will be the thing. Okay? So now, how can you write the CDF for this case? So CDF capital F x comma y xy equal to what? You have written? Yes. I want to check. Written? Right? Whatever you are telling, write.
PDF आएगा सर। PDF आएगा।
लिख लिया? ये दोनों सेम है?
नहीं ये स्मॉल है।
So it is very simple. Okay. Now okay? Now okay? Very good. So f x comma y, how can you write this one in terms of capital F x y? So here you wrote CDF in terms of please write. Here it is correct. Of what order? Now okay. तुमने क्या लिखा? This is partial or complete differential? Did you wrote? So this is basically del square f divided by del x del y, 2 times differentiation. Okay. Now suppose simple example, if you want to write probability, that this probability, this, how will you write? Now I think you can write very easily. Now you can write very easily, right? This is what? Integral a to b integral c to d fx by xy dx dy, right? Okay. Now, so what this integral is basically giving physically? What is the unit of this integral? If it is not probability, area. How many of you agree with the area? Area, volume. dx 1 unit, dy 1 unit, fxy third unit, it will give volume. Earlier fxy 1 unit, dx 1 unit, what it was giving? Area. Now it is giving volume. So, and this is the volume. If you see this surface, right? So now this is a 3 dimension. This is x, variable 1. This is y, second variable, and fxy is their joint distribution. So joint distribution looks like a surface in 3 dimension, and when you calculated this probability that your x is between A and B, y is between C and D, so you cut this much portion of your probability distribution surface, okay, and the volume of this portion is that probability. Earlier the area was the probability, now volume is the joint probability, okay. Now conditional and marginal distributions. This is the extension of conditional probabilities in the terms of distribution functions. This is the extension of conditional probabilities in the terms of distribution functions. Earlier conditional probabilities were taught in the form of probability, some ratio, Bayes law and all those things, right? Probability of P x given by is equal to probability of x intersection y divided by probability of y. We studied in this format. Now we will study in the form of distribution directly. When we are studying in the form of distribution, it will be the ratio of PDFs, right? If x and y are discrete random variables, let us start with the discrete stuff. Discrete random variables such that their probabilities are interdependent. Then write the conditional PMF, conditional probability mass function of x, and marginal probability mass function of x. Conditional probability mass function of x is what? Probability of x given y. Try to calculate. Probability of x given y of xi given yj. It means probability that x equal to xi given y equal to yj. This is equal to what was the conditional probability statement? Yes, you are right. Tell me. Probability that x equal to xi and y equal to yj divide by probability that y equal to yj, right? So probability of yj is down. Here it should be the intersection. When we talk about intersection, we talk about the joint probability. So P xy xi yj, right? This is known as conditional PMF. Conditional PMF. When I taught you conditional probability, after that I also taught you, what did I teach? Before going to the Bayes theorem, in total probability, right? So again we will apply total probability here. So probability of x being xi, x being xi will be what? Look at the total probability theorem statement. Just go open your notes, check it and tell me. Look into your notes.
Another notes.
Oh, you are not studying this course.
No sir, the another notes is complete, so in the notebook.
Okay. You are in this course or not?
Yes.
You are
I am in this course.
You are teaching this course? No, you are
learning this
course. Okay, you are not giving any exam or anything. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot. I thought you were crediting this course. Yes. So what was the statement of total probability? Apply that. So if you look at here, one thing is clear, that you have to multiply what with what? Can I write like this? On all possible yj's, you sum this thing, and that will give you the total probability. And when you wrote, you remember just 10 minutes back you wrote something, right? What you did? You summed all the probabilities over x, and that was giving you this thing, right? Independent. That's what we want here at particular xi. So we want to sum over all the yj's. That will give you this value, and this thing is known as marginal PMF. Marginal PMF. What is the time? Time is still there? No, over. Okay. So this gives the marginal PMF. What is here? हाँ, कर दें, लंबा कर दें, विवेक जो कहेगा वही होगा, विवेक कर लेना, ठीक है. So now extend the above results for the case of statistically independent x and y. Now that case came, what you were talking, multiplication. Statistically independent. Statistically independent means The probability of xi does not depend upon y. Statistically independent. Right? So suppose, look, see this statement very carefully. Probability x given y, xi given yj equal to how much if they are statistically independent? They are independent. X does not give a damn what is the value of y. X does not give a damn what is the value of y. Now, because x does not give a damn, so does y. ये तो पोएम बन गया स्टैटिस्टिकली इंडिपेंडेंट के लिए. ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? ऐसा हो सकता है क्या? See, this is not a relationship that son is dependent upon a father and father is not dependent upon the son. These are mathematical variables, right? If one is dependent on the other, it has to be dependent, both there is interdependency. It is. If it is there, then please bring an example, mathematical example. See, in a relationship I can think that he is dependent upon me, but I don't give a damn, okay? Am I right? But mathematically I am not sure if the variables have that kind of relationship or not. So, this na. So y is dependent variable on x. Okay, you are saying that x is not dependent upon y. X is not dependent upon y, but y is dependent upon x, right? That's what you are saying. No. See, here what is happening, this is a function of random variable. What you are saying, this is a function of random variable. But here, x and y are not functions of random variable. They are two random variables. For example, x is the value of, say, SPT blow count and y is the value of QC. Okay, so suppose if SPT is high, QC is expected to be high. Okay, and there will be some kind of random relation between two variables. There can be some kind of relationship, right? So that's we are talking about these kind of variables. But what you are talking, when you talk about this kind of case, where is the explicit dependent and independent variable, if you are talking this kind of case, right, then that is known as functions of random variables, and that we will discuss in the next lecture. when we will study about the Monte Carlo simulations, where x does not give a damn what is y, but y will be affected with the x. But those kind of problems are completely different domain that we are not discussing here. Where
अभी जो आपने एग्जांपल दिया वो एसपीटी वैल्यू एंड क्यूसी का क्यूसी डिपेंड करता है ना
किस पर?
एसपीटी वैल्यू
अच्छा, वो करता होगा. See, I just gave an example. I am not a geotechnical engineer. I don't remember if there is any relationship between QC and SPT. Okay, I gave that example just to keep. So, for example, let's say water table and SPT blow count. करता है नहीं? Is there a functional dependence? Explicit functional dependence? Well, see, that we know. That's what I am saying. That's what I am saying, that they will have some kind of dependency, but we do not know the explicit dependence. Why? Because SPT is depending upon water table, QC, okay, rock, strata, clay, soil, plasticity index, liquid limit, maybe, okay, on all those factors. So there are multiple variables which are playing a role. So those kind of problems are completely different. This kind of problem is completely different.
तो उसमें अगर कोरिलेशन प्लॉट करेंगे
Correlation आएगा. I'm saying same thing, that correlation will come. That's why here we are studying two random variables. We are studying their correlation. We are studying their joint distribution. Okay. Sometimes functional dependence will come out explicitly. Sometimes functional dependence may not come out. Okay. Now, we have one relation in soil mechanics, C plus sigma tan phi equal to tau, right? Okay, and you get some data and you fit. So on x-axis we get sigma, y-axis we get tau, and this gives phi, and this intersection gives C, right? You got this kind of relation. Now here, when you are saying that sigma, C and phi are parameters. Sigma is independent variable and tau is dependent variable. Then basically what you are saying, you are calculating tau. You are calculating tau. But if I change the question, that at what particular sigma you will get this kind of tau, then this will become tau minus C by tan phi. If I write relation like this now, sigma is dependent variable upon tau. Okay. So when you go to the explicit functional dependence, we say that this is dependent variable, this is independent variable, but in practice this will also be true, and f inverse, if it is a new function, so although we say, when we are saying this is dependent variable and that is independent variable, basically what we are trying to say, that I want to know the value of y when given the value of x. In that sense we are saying dependent variable and independent variable. When you change the sense, but practically they are related to each other. Y cannot always say that I don't give a damn, or x cannot always say I don't give a damn, right? So mathematics is always there, which is true, but you have to look at it using the right lens. So you got the marginal PMF, right? So here what I was trying to tell, okay, so when you write P xy xi comma yj, x and y are statistically independent, then what will be the value of this? Value of this? X right? Can you prove it? Very simple. So earlier this was right, but this is okay. Gotcha. So this is your case of statistically independent. Now in the next class we will discuss so when is the next class? Tuesday. ओहो, तब तो थोड़ा और पढ़ा लेने दो, इतने दिन मैं बिना पढ़ाई कैसे रहूँगा? I am a dependent variable. You don't give a damn, but I am a dependent variable. Okay. Statistically independent x and y हो गया. Write the conditional joint and marginal PDFs of x and y if x and y are continuous random variables. So now we will extend it to the case of continuous. Please do that. In the meantime, I will delete it. Conditional PDF of x given y. Conditional PDF of x given y. X given y. Joint PDF of x and y divided as simple as this. That's what we did for, right, for your this case. So here we can directly extend like this. It should not be an issue. So joint PDF we can write from here fxy xy equal to fx given y x given y fy. This is joint PDF of x and y, which is written like this. If x and y are statistically independent, then this joint PDF becomes this. X and y are statistically independent, so x does not give a damn what is y. So when they are statistically independent, then this will happen. For calculating the marginal PDF, what is marginal PDF? These are marginal PDFs. These are marginal PDFs. So for calculating the marginal PDF, you use the total probability theorem. So total probability theorem, you will sum on y from minus infinity to infinity fx given y, fxy, fy, y dy. How it is coming? This is coming from here. Huh? Minus infinity to infinity, yeah? Why? We removed the complete y, right? We removed the complete y. All y's we are summing, not till y. So this is coming directly from here, total probability theorem, and this is the marginal. So this is what? So if you do this, this is coming basically Is there anyone who does not agree with this? Right? Agree, na? Okay. So everything is in place, order systematic. So this figure is very interesting. So this surface that you see is the joint probability density function of x and y. This is x, this is y, and this is PDF f. Okay. So there are three planes. So one plane is f x plane, one is f y plane, and third is this xy plane, right? So in the fx plane, if you put a torch here, so this will be the image or shadow, right? So this is marginal PDF of x, right? And how? Because here what you have done, basically I will explain. If you put a torch here, this is marginal PDF of y, this is joint PDF, right? So you chose one value y equal to b, right? And using that value, if you move along this surface, so you will intersect this plane. One plane you will so it is like three-dimensional surface, and this is a knife, and you cut along y equal to by plane. So you will see this cross section, right? This cross section that you see here is the distribution of what? X. Because on x-axis, this is x-axis, parallel to x-axis. This is distribution of x given y equal to b. So given y equal to b, you get the distribution of x. So this is the conditional distribution. Condition is y equal to b. Conditional distribution that y equal to b. Similarly, if you put x equal to a, and if you cut like this, you will see this surface or this kind of curve, right? So this is the conditional distribution that of y given x equal to a. Now here you got some value at each x, here you are getting some value, right, at y equal to b. Similarly, you keep cutting for all the y's from minus infinity to plus infinity, right? So you will cut, and then you will add, right? So you will get this thing, and that's why it is known as marginal distribution of x when it is y is going from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so it is summing all these curves basically. Now the total volume under this hat is 1. It means if you take these marginal distributions or anything, this will never go beyond 1. That is for sure. So this is explained. So this here you can see this is explained, FYB area, this is explained. Okay, so now you have complete understanding what is joint distribution, what is marginal distribution, what is conditional distribution. So what is the time now? You want to study or you want 3:25? Okay, so you want me to continue or should I break here? नहीं, बाकी से पूछ लें। ब्रेक देखो, उसने ब्रेक बोल दिया तो। So in the next class we will discuss from y variate normal distribution. Okay.